Oh, Mythbusters Q&A time here at Tested. Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Savage. I am answering some questions about my tenure on Mythbusters. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. So Tested patron Rich L says, when you told the story about the sign you retrieved from the closed gymnasium, this is a really specific episode. Oh, yeah, you mentioned falling off the water tower and breaking your neck. I mentioned breaking my neck. Yeah. He's asking, did we hear that correctly? The story, please. Okay. Yeah. Hang on just a second. Making you watch me surf my phone in real time. Okay. Hold on. I got to save this. Save. That's it. That's what I wanted. This is the Lighthouse at Kingsland Point Park, nestled on the east side of the Hudson River in New York, about 25 miles north of New York City. Kingsland Point Park sits right next to what used to be New York's General Motors plant, the GM plant, which employed a good portion of the parents of the kids I went to school with in Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, New York, North Tarrytown, New York. That lighthouse has been closed for most of my life. I think it might be open now. I don't know. But it was closed for all of my childhood. It was always locked shut. And even the bridge to it was locked shut. But that didn't stop us. We kids explored every aspect of Westchester County. And, you know, going to explore the lighthouse, that was definitely something that we did. We never vandalized it. We never did any trouble. It was just like urban spelunking, you know. There's an easy gate to get past. We went and got past it. We left things as we found them. And again, we never like messed with the spaces that we explored. But that lighthouse is absolutely like a key part of my childhood explorations around the town that I grew up in. And on my 18th birthday, July 1985, my friend Rich and I don't even know what day of the week it was. Kingsland Point Park was closed, so we hopped over the fence. It's probably because it was a weekday. Anyway, we hopped over the fence to the park and walked all the way down the drive, down to the end of the park where the lighthouse was, and then we jumped over the fence for the lighthouse. Can you see where this is going? We jumped over the fence of the lighthouse, and we were going to go swimming. And so and as you can see in the image, we can just cut it in so you can take a look at the image that my mom took this on a recent walk. She still lives around the corner from there. At any rate, we thought we'd go swimming. So I stood on one of those rocks on the west side of the lighthouse and I dove into the Hudson River. Except that I didn't. The Hudson River is an estuary. That means it's got fresh water coming down the river, but it meets salt water from the ocean. And it's a very silty estuary. The visibility in the Hudson River is something approaching zero. So what I couldn't see under the brown water that I was diving into is that there was a rock directly under the surface. And I effectively jumped about 8 feet headfirst into a rock. Yeah, no, I know. And if you're I'm a parent now. My kids are both older than I was when I did that. I dove headfirst into a rock from about 8 feet away. It's astounding that I'm here talking to you right now. What I was told was that I was diving straight. And so I compressed my spine rather than snapped it, and that's why I'm walking and talking today. Here's some facts I remember from that time. Something like 90% of neck accidents occur in men between the ages of 17 and like 22. for all the obvious reasons. That number is probably grossly off now, given that it's been 30 years, but it doesn't take a stretch of imagination to understand why young men are the most prone to this type of idiocy. Because I was being idiotic. It was absolutely, it was a ridiculous thing. And I will tell, what happened to me when I dove into the rock? Right, yeah, that is a good question. So I hit the rock so hard, I was sure that there was a dent in my head. I knew I had done something spectacularly bad. And so I came out of the water. I was fully conscious. I don't even think I got a concussion. I probably got a concussion, but at any rate, I came out of the water and I felt my top of my head because it felt like someone took a sledgehammer that weighed as much as me and hit me in the head with it, because that's precisely what was happening. And there was no dent in my head. It's a good, thick Irish pate that I have. And then I thought, okay, secondary damage assessment. Let me turn my head this way. Well, that's not a problem. Let me turn my head this way. Okay, don't do that again. Yes, turning this way, something was grossly wrong. So I said to my friend, yeah, we gotta go. What did I do? I took a towel and I wrapped it around my head, and that helped me a little bit because I still had to climb 2 fences to get back out of the park in order to call my mom. What an idiot. Anyway, yeah, we didn't call an ambulance. This is the 80s, man. So we climbed 2 fences. We walked the 6 or 7 blocks back to my house, and I called my mom at work, and I said, I've had an accident. I hurt my neck, which is, my poor mother. This is the worst thing in the world to hear. So we drove nearby to Phelps Memorial Hospital, to the emergency room, which I had already had lots of experience with as me. This was by far the worst thing this is by far the worst injury I have ever had. Full stop, bar none. Went there. So the first thing they wanted to do was x-ray me. They put me down on a board. They isolated me. They stabilized me so I couldn't move, which is all good. Then they took some x-rays. And when they took the x-rays, they found out that I had chipped a little chunk out of my 7th vertebrae. Chipped a little piece. I still have the x-ray somewhere. And you can see it clearly. It's this little 1/4-inch little split and this little chunk. No other damage. No other. Oh, I do remember the doctor at Phelps Memorial being a dick. Now, I get it. I totally get, you're a doctor and a young man comes to you. Here's what I remember. Is him coming in, I'd been sitting there for hours waiting. I'm maybe at this point now I'm sitting up, but I'm isolated on a thing. And he comes in and he's got my x-ray in his hand and he goes, "What did you do?" It was a total shame thing. Now I totally get, he was angry. He'd probably had other patients that this had happened to, and he was really pissed off at this dumb 18-year-old who had almost killed himself. I totally get that. So I was transferred from Phelps Memorial to Columbia Presbyterian, and that's because my grandfather was still a person of clout at Columbia Presbyterian. My grandfather, Cushman Hagenson, was a pioneer of breast cancer operations and diagnosis. Wrote one of the early seminal textbooks on breast cancer. And he, even though this is 1985, so my grandfather was 85, he was no longer practicing at the hospital, but he was practicing across the street from the hospital. And he carried a lot of water at Columbia. So my mom had me transferred there. So they put me in the back of an ambulance and drove me from Westchester County into Manhattan, while a guy who was sitting there, an EMT whose whole job was just to hold my head still for the entire drive. And he spent that drive telling me about the halo vest that I was likely to have to get. And this is a device that sits on a brace here and comes up with 4 posts and a ring around your head, hence the name halo vest. And the ring has screws in it that literally get screwed right into the skull. So they cut away a little bit of flesh and they Yeah, and it holds your skull so that your neck can't move. And this guy's telling me that I'm going to have my forehead drilled into so they can put this thing. Reader, I did not have to do that, luckily. Like, that's how minor my injury was. Holy cow, it's unbelievable how ultimately minor it turned out to be. But yeah, this guy had me like, I was not looking forward to getting into Columbia Presbyterian. So one last story about breaking my neck at 18 is I get to Columbia Presbyterian and my mom has been driving behind the ambulance the whole way. And I mean, she's holding it together as like you do, right? We get to the hospital, the ambulance unloads me, I get wheeled past the front desk, but they stop my mom and they say, check in this patient. Has he ever been here before? And my mom says, no. Wait. Yes, she says. 18 years ago today, because it's his birthday and he was born in this hospital. And then she faints. Yeah. As a parent now, I totally understand this. You don't collapse until the situation allows you to collapse. That I've definitely had that, right? I've definitely experienced that in my life. And I can totally imagine being a parent, checking your kid into the thing, and somehow having the question about have they been there before, eliciting this super intense emotional reaction because it's your kid and they were born there and you remember their birth because you were there, and it's this whole circle of life, Hakuna Matata, happening at this check-in desk at Columbia Presbyterian at like 9 o'clock at night on the worst day you've ever had as a parent. I totally get the vasovagal collapse that happened to my mom. Yeah. I'm a cautionary tale, and a very, very lucky one. Of those accidents, neck accidents, very few diving accidents like that result in no residual damage. I am a part of the very lucky, tiny percentage. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of alternate universes in which I'm not as functional as I am now. This timeline's a good one for me, and like I said, I am surpassingly, exceedingly lucky. Be careful around the water, kids. Be careful. Don't be like me. I'm not sure how many times I've told that story publicly. Thank you so much, Rich L, for asking that question. Tested patrons, I love these questions. Thank you so much. If you want to know how to join the club and become a patron, the answer's in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Adam Savage out. I will see you next time.